Hey everyone, so I'm going to do a video on 3 variable word problems. The most important thing to do with word problems and any type is to read the problem carefully, underline important material, write things down, and try to make equations. So the first sentence is probably the most important part of this whole problem. It says a cashier has 25 coins consisting of nickels, dimes, and quarters. So that means, and they say with a value of $4.90. This whole sentence here is the main brunt of the problem. So 25 represents the total amount of coins she has in her register. I'm going to use N, D, and Q as my letters. And I'm going to write let N be nickels, let D be dimes, and let Q be quarters. That is normally what you want to do with a word problem. If you're going to use variables, you should have a let statement on the side. Now there is one equation that I can think of first. The first equation is N plus D plus Q equals 25. Because N, D, and Q are how many of each coin that you have, and we know that she has a total of 25 coins. Now the next piece of this problem says that she has a value of $4.90 in her cashier, in her register. So that means my second equation is equal to $4.90, and I'm going to have to give each N, D, and Q a value. So I'm going to multiply 0.05 times N plus 0.10 times D, and these are the values of our coins, and then plus 0.25 Q. Now if you notice, the reason why I'm doing this is because I do not know how many of each coin I have. I'm just multiplying each letter by its value so that I can sum to $4.90. The next statement says, if the number of dimes, so dimes is what I'm looking at, is 1 less than is a very important word. When you see less than, you should remember you switch things. 1 less than twice the number of nickels. So that means this is 2n minus 1. We want to know how many of each type of coin she has. Now this is a very important piece of information. I can take this 2n minus 1 and replace D with that in both equations. So that means my first equation is going to become n plus 2n minus 1 because I replaced that with the D, plus Q equals 25, and I have 0.05 N plus 0.10 times 2N minus 1 plus 0.25 Q equals $4.90. $4.90. So I'm going to clean this up by first off combining these like terms in the first equation to get 3N. I'm also going to add the 1 over, and then plus Q equals 26. And in the second equation, I'm going to distribute this in to get 0.20n. So let me make that neater. 0.20n minus 0.10. That means I can add this and this to get 0.25n. And I can add the 0.10 over to the 490. And that means on this left side I have 0.25q equals $5 flat because it's $4.90 plus 0.10. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is, let me just rewrite these two equations for you guys so you can see what we have left. I have two equations and they have two unknowns. So what I'm going to be able to do here is I'm going to be able to eliminate one of these variables by multiplying one of them by a negative of that number and solve. The one that I'm going to choose to cancel out is Q. So I'm going to multiply the top by a negative 0.25. Distributing this in, I end up getting an equation of negative 0.25 times 3, that's negative 0.75n, minus 0.25q equals negative 26 times negative 0.25 is negative 6.5. I'm going to rewrite the next one. And I'm going to be able to now cancel out the q's, which is great. And I can solve by subtracting 75 and 20.25 and getting negative 0.50n equals negative 6.5. And 5 make a negative 1.5. I can divide by negative 0.50. And this gets me the amount of nickels as 3. Now what is great about that is looking back at the information that's given, I know that my number of dimes is twice the number of nickels minus 1. So now I can find my dimes, because I can do 2 times 3 minus 1, that's 6 minus 1, and the number of dimes is 5. Now to get my number of quarters, the easiest equation I can use is the original one that we wrote here, and I know I have now 3 nickels, 5 dimes, I don't know how many quarters, that's what I'm looking for. So 3 and 5 make 8. I'm going to subtract 8, and I'm getting the Q value of 17. Alright. The next question says the sum of 3 numbers is 14. I'm going to pick 3 letters, X, Y, and Z, for these numbers. They say the largest, so let's make, it doesn't really matter which one you make the largest, but usually I use the last one. So it says the largest is 4 times the smallest. So I'm going to have Z equal to 4x. While the sum of the smallest and twice the largest, so the sum of the smallest, that's x, and twice the largest is 2z, is 18. Now again, it's really up to you what you want to make the largest. I chose to make x the smallest and z the largest. But again, it is really up to you. And they say find the numbers. Now this problem is not too terrible because there's a few things that we can do to start to solve. First off, I know that I can do a lot of substitutions here. I'm going to take this 4x and put it in for the z there. So I'll have x plus 2 times 4x equals 18. And this is just something that I'm trying. You have to realize that there are a variety of ways to do a problem. So I get 8x equals 18. That combines to 9x equals 18, and what is great about this is I can divide by 9, and I get x equals 2, and that's my smallest number. To get my largest number, all I have to do is take 4 and to multiply it by 2, because I got 2 there, and I get z equal to 8, which is my largest number. And to get my final number y, I can take this equation and type in the 8 and the 2, so I'll put 2 in for x, I don't know why, 8 is z, and 14, that's going to get you 10 plus y equals 14, subtract the 10, we end up getting y equal to 4, and that's how you get these 3 numbers.